Well, it's been hard to talk about anything but the Rugby World Cup this week, but there was one announcement that not even Cup fever could drown out. After nearly 4 years of legal wrangling, the firearms charges against 13 of the terror raid suspects are to be dropped.
And joining us to discuss this startling turn of events, we have Maori Party MP for Waiariki, Te Ururoa Flavel, and Annette Sykes. Kia ora, thank you for coming in. Annette, let's start with you. Let's talk about the timing of this. There's been some questions raised, some cynical questions raised around the timing, trying to keep it undercover because of the Rugby World Cup. What do you think of that?
I think there's 2 points. The actual judgment was argued in the Supreme Court in May, and so the Supreme Court, who consisted of 5 judges, deliberated very carefully over 3 months. So I don't think the fact that the judgment was delivered 10 days before the Rugby World Cup can be criticised. But certainly many of the lawyers involved felt that there had been an effort by the Crown to timetable the first trial, which was to proceed to coincide with the Rugby World Cup, which was criticised because, of course, if we're all on legal aid, living in Auckland at the moment, it's the most expensive time, would not have been in the best interest of the accused, of the system, or of the legal aid authority, because it would have just been exorbitant. So I think that criticism is not meritorious at this time.
Te Ururoa Māori Party's calling for an inquiry. How do you feel about that?
A number of issues. I mean, the issue's been raised that, first of all, these people have got off, and rightly so from our perspective, but we're investigating, well, what are some avenues that we can pursue for at a number of levels. At the first instance, there are a lot of people who are what has been labelled as collateral damage. Those people who had their houses invaded or even stopped by police cars, investigate that issue, all the way through to the very high level about the whole action of the law and what part that might play. So it's all about thinking and strategising about which place we might be able to open the door up in this whole case, right through from the simple things of maybe parliamentary inquiry through to what apparently is the whole notion of a Royal Commission of Inquiry. So we've got some things to do on that and just a little bit more information to gather first.
Are you taking the lead role in this issue?
I'm investigating on behalf of our co-leaders just to see where we might go, and we have staff on it at the moment just to see how we might move.
The cynic in me, though, says, why now? If you wanted a parliamentary inquiry, that should have been initiated 4.5 years ago. Why now? Because there's still 4 people that have charges before the court, notwithstanding that 13 are to be discharged tomorrow. It, for me, is a little bit too late, frankly. The Māori Party has had ample opportunity to initiate both the kinds of inquiries that you're talking about, but why now? Well, yeah, and let's be really clear. There's an independent police complaints authority, there's a Human Rights Commission, and there's the Special Rapporteur on Terrorism and the Special Rapporteur in the United Nations on Indigenous People's Rights. You've been silent to all those authorities.
Well,
let him answer, Annette. Let him answer.
Because, of course, Annette would say that. At the end of the day, we've done as much as we can do on at the approval of tūhoe leadership at the high end. Certainly working with some of the whānau at that level, and of course a part of that has been waiting for the scene to roll out.
Well, that's the problem. You work with iwi leaders, you don't work with the people.
Well,
do you take that?
And it would say that again, but what I've been doing is
right.
Well, no, you're not.
I am right.
No, you're not right.
So what
we've been doing?
We've
been working with a number of people.
What families?
Actually, I've been in touch with Tame. I've been in touch with people like Tamati Kruger.
He wasn't charged. What families were charged?
Okay, let's move on from this.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Earlier this morning, we heard Tamiiti on Q&A revealing things that went down deep in the forest. You said you'd never heard that particular evidence. You're his lawyer. What do you make of that?
It's the first time that Tame's actually opened up in a public way. I found that timing quite important, and he's obviously made a measured assessment at this stage that putting things in the public arena will not be dismissed as out of hand, because frankly the media were the ones that amped up this whole terrorism. And frankly, the media has a whole part to play in the kinds of apologies that are due to people that are going to be proved innocent tomorrow.
Do you think some mainstream media were actually given information by either the government or the police to continue terror raids?
We know that. On the night of October the 15th, 2007, TV3 was outside a house in Wellington. Now, we know that TV3 must have been tipped off. They weren't tipped off by the people being arrested.
So what's the next step for the Māori Party Te Ururoa?
As I say, we've been investigating ways that we might move forward. Annette talked before about why not earlier, why not a couple of years ago. Well, we've been pretty proactive, I think, in terms of raising the issue. We've directed it directly at the Minister. We know that there are certain things that have to be dealt with internally for Tūhoe. For example, about a month ago, they had the signing of an agreement, if you like, to work in good faith. Against that background, you'd say that maybe that's it's not in the best shape at the moment. But people like Annette, in fact, a lot of people across the board have had an opportunity. All of us have, over the 4 years or so, have done our best to get some leverage to make some movement for the people of Tūhoe. And Annette criticises the Maori Party for taking or not doing enough. In fact, she's been the lawyer as well. So anybody could have raised those issues over time. And we've attempted to take them up as best we can.
Will you be discussing an apology and compensation?
I think we need to open those doors up in terms of an apology and compensation, but in the end, some of the views that we've got back in terms of apology say that we need to wait for the final conclusion. That's come from various people. In fact, listening to Tamu this morning, he's willing to hold out a little bit longer. In terms of compensation, I think that's an important one because there's different levels here. One is the sort of Tūhoe nation, if you like, and the reputation, the stigma that's been associated with the raids. On the other hand, there's those people who had their houses invaded. Their issues of being under a cloud for 4 years, I think they have to be dealt with. Compensation is appropriate.
Indeed, kia ora, thank you very much. There's a lot more to come out about this story, and we will be pursuing the issue in programs to come.